Let's talk about London. I've lived here for 20 years, and yet I don't recognize this city in the last year or two. We got a guy in the mayor's office at Econ who, he's a broken man.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is he's suffering, he's depressed over the COVID part. He's being marginalized by number 10. He's whining and complaining about it. The tube is in a mess.
Right.
The Met Police is needs funding, needs training. Knife crime is up. We got all sorts of issues. This city needs leadership.
There are parts of it which are completely lawless as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know?
And the homelessness. And right now we need leadership. We need to bring business back.
Yeah.
This is an amazing, thriving, one of the top 5 cities in the world when it's on point.
Yeah.
With great ideas, great creativity. It could bounce back and be a new reinvented version of itself. But if Sadiq's back, it's going to be another 3 years of nonsense, I think.
And this is when you begin to wonder if there's something else going on here. You know, does Sadiq Khan prefer it when we're in this kind of, war zone mentality? Because there are some politicians, I think, who do.
Right.
There are some, they always used to say in America, didn't they, if you're having domestic problems, go start a war somewhere, go and invade Vietnam or something, see if that takes everybody's mind off it.
Never let a good crisis go to waste. And now he's got something to complain about.
Now he's got something to complain about. This is the same guy who went over to Brussels in the midst of the, the Brexit backwards and forwards situation, and whilst actually seriously asked the European Union if London could be made some kind of associate member of the EU. And you're going, what? Sorry, mate. And I had the same argument with him about the statues, because he's now formed this heritage commission or something where they're going to look at all the names of the streets. And this is in the midst of, as you say, a crisis for London. They're going to look at all the statues and they're going to look at all the names of the streets, which he claims are all kind of harking back to the Victorian era and that nobody's really thought about, which first of all is BS, right? Because most of London has been part of an entire history all the way back to the Romans, when it was called Londinium, when there are street names all the way back to there, when there are roads that were built by the Romans. It's got nothing to do with the Victorian slave traders, right?
Right.
But
Incredible
here's a guy,
history.
Yeah.
The Romans had some slaves, I think, too.
I think they did. They enslaved most of Europe, but it doesn't stop us talking about them. Right. But here's a guy who basically wants to create conflict. I've invited him on my show 15, 20 times. We've given up asking him now because he just doesn't come on. But he'll happily go on LBC. He'll happily go on any other radio station that gives him a nice time. But he won't come on my show. And he'll probably say it's because he thinks I'm a racist or something like that. And that would be why. But we don't even get an answer out of his office. They're just not interested.
Right. And so he's worried about renaming streets when we need someone to step up and just show some leadership.
Well, we want the streets to be safe for a start.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen lately, which worries me a lot, are these kind of illegal raves that have been going on, where basically it's almost as though it's one of those movies where they're inviting the police in so they can give them a hammering, because these are people who are not scared of the police. Now, if you're not scared of the police, that's a dangerous place.
Yeah, I saw that. That boggles my mind.
Yeah.
When you see that.
You see the police running away?
Yeah.
That is just unacceptable.
It doesn't send a good message, and the more it happens, the more it's going to happen. Right. The last thing the city needs, it's like almost decaying into New York City in the 70s,
Yeah.
And I would never thought London could do that.
No.
It's such a vibrant
I
city.
tend to spend most of my weekends outside of London, so I don't really see it. And because I'm not of that kind of age, I'm not out and about on a Friday, Saturday night in clubs or anything like pubs or anything like that. But I would imagine that's quite a dangerous place to be right now,
Yeah.
And you'd have to be very careful where you went.
Yeah. We need to get this man out of office. Are there any alternatives?
Not really at the moment. Sean Bailey, nice guy, but really too ineffectual, I think. Susan Hall, funnily enough, who is the head of the Tories in the London Assembly, quite a feisty woman. She could probably do a better job than Sadiq Khan, because she's all about common sense. She comes on my show quite a lot. Right. Is very critical of Sadiq Khan, because she says that not only does he not do his job, he doesn't like scrutiny. They're supposed to have mayor's questions, which is meant to be like prime minister's questions once a month, I think. And he skipped a couple of them on the grounds of coronavirus. And she's like, that's not acceptable. We need to know what you're doing. And he spends money like it's going out of fashion. He's already screwed up TfL, right? Because he didn't manage it properly. We did an investigation with Taxpayers Alliance into Transport for London, TfL. They have got something like 25 or more people earning more than 6 figures, right? Their top guy makes about £700,000 a year. And you're going, you run a train set. What do you need 700,000 quid for? And it's this kind of publicly funded Quango mentality that these people all pat themselves on the back. And now he's got his begging bowl out saying to Boris Johnson, I need more money because nobody's travelling on the train.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Make the trains safe. Make the trains feel as if people are going to be comfortable with what's going on, and get people back on them.
Yeah. Show some leadership.
Yeah.
So Sean Bailey, don't know a couple of the random candidates. So we need someone to get in there and show some leadership.
Yeah, I mean, Boris was a great mayor. People forget when they say, oh, he's a bumbling buffoon.
His leadership,
yeah.
you know?
And I know people who worked for him when he was in City Hall.
Okay.
And they say the thing that he is very good at is surrounding himself with a decent team of people and then leaves it to them. You know, he makes decisions, obviously, but he also employs the right people because he's intelligent enough and brainy enough and confident enough not to be frightened of hiring people that might be cleverer than him.
Right.
He doesn't worry. I mean, it's a bit like me. I mean, I don't care who is up against me on the radio networks that I go up against because I know none of them are as good as I am. People will accuse me of being arrogant. Well, I'm good at what I do. I've been doing it a long time, and I could argue both sides of any argument and win. Yeah. And so I don't care what you think you can do against me. You know, I'm not bothered. So I think Boris is the same. What we need is somebody like that who can go in, who knows how to manage a big organisation. The problem with Steve Khan is he's not equipped for that. You know, he's a sort of tuppence halfpenny lawyer from Tooting who hasn't really done much in his life apart from be a Labour apparatchik.
Yeah.
And he's running effectively one of the biggest corporations in the world.
I know, it's mind-boggling. And you're right, we need someone that can show some leadership, a little flair, do what Boris does, get some great people behind him, get people excited about the city, and that will lead to investment.
I mean, almost an administrator as well, more than a politician. You might need to go into Goldman Sachs and find somebody that actually could run it, who would actually know how to make it work, rather than just be a kind of, box ticker to say, oh, well, now we're going to ban this picture of a woman in a bikini because, it might offend some people. Really? Is that your job?